In June, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed an executive order pardoning 175,000 low-level convictions related to cannabis possession in his state, marking the largest pardon related to to cannabis possession charges in U.S. history. Um, Months before the historic move, Maryland lawmakers began considering a proposal to create a reparations system by increasing the marijuana sales tax, among other taxes. As the movements for Black reparations and cannabis justice slowly gain ground nationally, advocates in Virginia say it's high time for the look at I missed that pun first time I read it. It's high time for the Commonwealth to begin addressing um, historic harms inflicted on Black and Brown communities through marijuana criminalization. All right, so Chelsea Higgs Wise,
marijuana company.
Right. Right. We'll get to that. All right. So Chelsea Higgs Wise is the executive director of Marijuana Justice, Richmond-based nonprofit aiming to ensure marijuana is no longer used as a tool to further the so-called war on drugs or criminalize communities of color. When marijuana and the cannabis particularly is transitioned to a gateway of liberation, a gateway towards reparations, and truly a freedom for the same people that have criminalized for a long time, that is what marijuana justice will look like. Okay. But in 2019, Evanston, Illinois, also ties to me. So you firing on all cylinders with this one, Jason.
Yeah, you know it, baby.
Trying to get me to throw you a bone on Trump. It ain't gonna happen. But 2019, Evanston, Illinois became the first locality in the United States to offer Black residents reparations using marijuana tax revenue, so far distributing more than $1 million through an initial program meant to remedy the harms of discriminatory housing practices. And of course, the city is now facing federal class action lawsuit alleging racial discrimination.
Get out of here.
Two white people. Dude, get out of here. That's what motherfuckers do. Oh, I deserve reparations too. Like, fuck out of here. All right. So according to Kat Packer, shout out to Kat. She's a friend of ours, but according to Kat Packer, director of drug markets and legal regulation at the National Drug Policy Alliance, some programs are a start. But she emphasizes the need for more serious government investments in uplifting impacted communities. There are some jurisdictions that have been dedicating cannabis tax revenue back into the communities most implicated. The reality is that these resources are minimal compared to the funding that continues to go into law enforcement. There needs to be an equal amount of resources going back into these communities. I half agree with that. Report by the ACLU finds Black people are 3.6 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white people, while the racial disparity in Richmond, Virginia, currently sits just below the national average. Nearby Hanover County is a striking gap. Black residents there are more than 20 times more likely to be arrested than white residents. According to the Department of Corrections, about 400 prisoners in Virginia are serving time due to marijuana-related offenses as of the end of 2023. Another 1,229 people are either on parole or probation. Meanwhile, a complicated constellation of marijuana laws continue to be disproportionately affecting Black residents. In 2020, their old governor, Ralph Northam, shout out to blackface on his part too, he approved a bill decriminalizing small marijuana possession. In 2021, Virginia's legislature approved a bill allowing marijuana use, legalizing marijuana possession of up to 1 ounce for adults 21 and over. So I'm gonna skip through a bunch of this. There's a lot in this story, but basically they're trying to say that they're trying to make a case for Virginia if they have a shift in control of everything in government there, which just might happen because what's his name? Youngkin is shit in the bed, but they're trying to make a case for if cannabis legislation goes forward, it should be funding in some way reparations. All right, so big shout out to Kat Packer on all of this and her comments, and it's a really good story if you guys want to read the whole thing. But I'm gonna fast forward to the end here, where I'll give my synopsis of everything because there's a lot to unpack. Pardon the pun there, Kat. But many of you all, like you know me or have listened to my thoughts over the years on social equity reparations and how they do not equate to the same thing. You probably know that I have a lot of feelings about this shit. So I'm gonna make it simple. One thing I do agree with within this article is, yes, I believe that cannabis taxation can help provide a framework for underdeserved communities of color and underserved communities of color, and show the positive effects reparations can have on those communities. But what I wholeheartedly disagree with is that taxes from legal cannabis, whether it's medical or adult use, should be used as the sole source of reparations. Cannabis businesses already, black, brown, or white owned, they have way too many government hands in their pockets to survive already. An industrial source of medicine. Healing the people should not be looked at as the solution for the problems continuing to be caused by every other damn industry pumping generational systemic problems into these communities. I don't think that is a sustainable solution, and all it's going to do at some point in the future is make the good white folks that are running these businesses resent the fact that they have to foot the bill for shit still going on freely by the hands of big pharma, big chemical, big alcohol, big oil, every other giant corporation that shits on our communities at will without paying any kind of taxes for it, if they're paying taxes at all. So yes, I believe reparations should be administered to folks that continue to suffer from racial bias and oppression stemming from America's chattel slave trade and the derivatives that have come after it. But that blood is on every damn industry in America. That blood's on every industry's hands, not cannabis. Maybe it's a start and models can be seen to inspire larger movements, but the results and studies from these results will take years to be produced, even more years to devise a system scaled up for the rest of America to replicate. You know what black communities do not have? Time. They don't have years to wait for that shit. So I do believe we should have reparations. I do believe like models can work, but it has to be from the top down and state to state, municipality up. Like I appreciate the sentiment, but I just don't see that as sustainable, especially with all of the taxes that cannabis businesses already have to deal with. They're hardly making any money. So I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Thank you for showing me this story, Jason. Very, very good topic, and I'd love to hear the rest of y'all's thoughts on it.
There's the picture.
So first off, Rico, what is the amount of money that they are?
That picture. I just saw the picture.
There we go. There is the Rico doing the dope dadness for Zozo's first day of school right there. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, look at that. Look at that, Rico. Back to school, bro. Young Zozo.
Like mama.
Like mama.
I don't even know. She out. I usually take her to school in the morning, and mama picks her up.
Mm-hmm. Good shit. Rico, question on this. What is the value that they're trying to give people? Like, what's the actual amount that they're saying that is going to be for reparations, and how are you going to have to prove or qualify in order to receive reparations?
I mean, there's a lot of issues with it that are tied to it on calculating the right amount. There are about 3 or 4 actual viable models to choose from. There are models that are very scientific with it. The problem is getting people to agree on one and go forward. It's not that dissimilar to the problems that are inherent in social equity. The problem is not social equity. The problem is getting people to agree on what social equity actually means, number one, and how you can have a model that everybody can get down with and people don't get in their feelings about, right? And then you take it a step further, man. There's people that are just like flat out don't want to give up money, right? Just like the Evanston program, like it wasn't much. I think it was like the way they did it in Evanston. So those of you guys that don't know, that's Northwestern, my alma mater, is in Evanston, Illinois. The way that they did it was cannabis tax revenue generated enough. I think it was like 13 people could actually prove that they had lineage back to slaves, and they each got like $25,000, which ain't much, but it is a step in the right direction. And the psychological positive that comes from that is immense, dude. So even if you don't get much, the fact that you are getting something back that you know is owed to you, it makes you resent the people around you a lot less, right? Everybody has bad days and good days, right? It just so happens that Black folks in white communities have a lot more bad days than white folks do, right? And then you have like a bunch of other shit, from social media to whatever's on the internet to whatever's on the news. Like, this shit just is psychologically beating you down. And then on top of that, you're broke because your mom was broke, your grandfather, your grandmother was broke, and it goes all the way back. And you start to blame shit on the system even more. And it sucks. So I would just argue that like some sort of comeuppance that shows that the system that has shat on you in your community actually is saying, yo, we're sorry, we fucked up. That's a positive, right? So let's keep it at that. I don't want to ramble too much more on this.
I think taking it from the marijuana tax, not a really good start for.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea at all.
Oh, suddenly it's marijuana's fault, right?
Yeah, right. Shouldn't they be taking this money from the general fund as opposed to the marijuana taxes?
Why? They have all this extra cannabis money. Come on, guys. Look at all this extra money coming in.
That was my point exactly.
But also, I just want to say, like, this is it's just kind of like a fake chit that they're giving, right? Because that's definitely not enough money to run a business. And then what happens is that this situation perpetuates, because then that company potentially goes out of business, potentially doesn't get an acquisition, and they just get steamrolled, and then that resentment just perpetuates more, right? Yeah. So it's like, hey, I'm not getting enough, you're not doing enough, and that's just the continuous scheme of this vicious cycle. So I don't know. I think like on one hand, it's great. They are doing what they can. On the other hand, that's not a help. That's actually not helping anybody. So how about some real help? How about actually coming up with and designing a pathway that helps, that's helpful? Maybe there's pro bono professionals that are also donating their time to that, so that there's not costs on top of those, situations for these business owners, that they're using that money that they're getting from the state or from these funds. I mean, it's a racket. Government's the biggest racketeer, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I think these big corporations should be the ones footing the bill. Like, they're the ones that are pumping poison and pollution continuously into poor Black communities. They should be the ones paying for reparations.
What were you saying, Todd?
I was going to say that there should be, the bank should get involved. There should be access to small business loans, right?
Yeah.
Let them get into business.
Well,
that's all we need. That's all we need.
I think not just that.
Banks.
I think not just that, but also too, there needs to be certain tax credits that these businesses are eligible for, and certain fee waivers for a number of different filings and things like that need to be done. I think this might be a good step in the right direction. I'm not sure. We'll see how it pans out, because if we take a play from any social equity model in any of these states, they have all been absolute failures.
Yeah, but they're failures in the right direction, and I just want to push back.
How do you fail in the right direction, Yarrow?
Well,
look at Donald Trump.
If you,
he's not failing. He's doing nothing but winning right now.
I don't know what you're watching.
Okay, tangential sidetracks aside, give me the floor for a couple seconds.
Go for it, Yarrow.
And I will explain.
Yes.
First of all, the argument that because it's not enough money to successfully run a business falls flat for me, because it's still a step in the right direction. It can still position people to onboard additional capital. And at the end of the day, giving people money to start businesses is not a guarantee that they're going to be successful. We can't insulate people from failures of businesses, given the statistics for the number of small businesses that fail in 3 to 5 years anyway. And that's outside of regulated cannabis. Secondly, the thing about offering peripheral services that Saman talked about is really important and what I mean by if it's in addition to the funds that go directly to cannabis businesses, because it will help insulate them from bad mistakes But if it's in lieu of that money, then all you're doing is paying a bunch of professionals with that grant money instead of actually paying the operators. And so that's an incomplete solution as well. I really appreciated what Todd talked about, which I've talked about also on this show. Maybe that's why I appreciate it, because I think I'm like Todd's channeling his inner Yarrow. But the idea that taking tax money from regulated cannabis to fund worthy causes is a bad model, because it justifies the high taxes in regulated cannabis, because people say, well, what do you got against reparations? What do you got against children with cleft palate? Oh, so now you have a problem with single mothers? And so those programs deserve to find sources of funding that are not tethered to high taxes in regulated cannabis. And the thing about reparations, Jason, is in terms of this notion of how do we come up with a formula that makes sense and satisfies all stakeholders. And Rico talked about how, that's very challenging. What my belief is that you can't satisfy all stakeholders at all. And so if there's something that's better than nothing, I think, even the psychological benefit of the, oops, yes, we have a stain in our history, we're never going to be able to make up for this, but here is something. Here is something is the part that I think creates potentially societal healing around deep, deep generational wounds that that pain has been passed on. I did not live through the Holocaust, but I have grandparents who made sure that I was trotted around to every museum, talked to survivors, understood what the tattoo on people's arm was. I don't have a first person or second person perspective on it, but they made sure that wound to our ancestry was communicated, not just with a never forget, but also with a, you have to understand what has been inflicted upon us, us. And so hold on.
Hold on. Let's put the Yarrow back in the quiver. Let's put the Yarrow back in the quiver. Okay. No, for sure. For sure. Because now you're getting a little, no. Now it's going somewhere else. And let me
cap my thought. The point I'm trying.
I think we made you. I think we got your point.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I think we got your point.
Is that the notion around reparations doesn't necessarily have to be as much a dollar value as an acknowledgement of what happened, and some symbolic remuneration would probably go a long way.
That's such horseshit, dude. Stop. All right, so you're telling me after all this stuff, just someone giving you a little acknowledgement and a couple bucks is enough to erase that, and you're saying that
no, that's not what I'm saying.
No, you're saying that
step in the right direction.
No, it's a shitty compromise. That's a really bad way to say, hey, all that pain, all that suffering gets taken away with this white flag.
And your better solution is what?
I don't know, bro, but it's the reason. Okay. You don't think there's been a compromise on the table for 100, 200 years?
Well, hold on.
There has been, and they haven't been able to come. Right, exactly. So 200 years of actual compromise, though. So like that, there's been ideas that have been offered, but it's not enough, Yarrow. So just saying, hey, that's enough, or a little bit's enough, dude.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I didn't say it was enough. I said it was a step in the right direction.
Hey, we can analyze what you said, but that is what you meant. Was that it's enough to get
Are you explaining what he meant?
Yeah, that's. He's mansplaining. He's mansplaining.
I'm mansplaining the mansplanation. I'm mansplaining the mansplanation.
Who has suffered more than the Jews? Thousands of years.
It's not about trauma porn. It's not about whether the Indians or the blacks or the Jews or the Trail of Tears. It's not about that. I think what I'm trying to say is that there is a kumbaya moment that I think would psychologically be beneficial for the nation. And I never said it wasn't enough. You can play back the tape and apologize to me tomorrow on social, Saman.
Please.
Yeah, I know. Humility might not be in your forte.
No, hubris is not in your vocabulary, though.
But guys, we do want to acknowledge Troy Lawrence with a big old super chat who says, "Get in a business. Local jurisdictions is racist," he says.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like it is the system. I mean, to put a bow on this thing, Yarrow, like, I can say this like straight up, as you as my Jewish brother in here. I think the path that you were going before Saman jumped in there is like, there's a psychological play that actually does help when people admit to the wrong that they did, and you stop just. I can't explain it to people who have not been through that, or there are people who have not been through that. Like it does lift a burden of resentment off of you when you know that people are saying that, yeah, we fucked up. And for
But
400
then what?
years,
But then what?
Yeah,
I fucked up, but then what? So nothing.
No, it doesn't even have to be all that. Is what I'm telling. I'm telling you.
Well, that's fine. I would hope that
as a black man, and these Trump supporters, all of you Trump supporters out there, I know you guys. It's okay. Like you guys don't like to apologize for a goddamn thing, but you know what? Apologizing does, even if it's not a full-throated, as Donald Trump likes to say.
Apologies lays those golden bricks, bro. Apologies lay the golden bricks. Not hard work.
The fact that you are acknowledging the fact that you fucked up. That's half the battle. We can talk about how things can be fixed systemically going forward after that, but saying like, "Yo, we fucked up,"
man,
that takes a big burden off our back, and you would have a lot less resentment. So
interesting perspective.
It's a very interesting perspective considering Yarrow's stance.
Saman, we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
You mean the stance I said, or the stance you said I said?
We're going to
bro.
I
mean,